So how did 12 smoke jumpers and one forest park ranger end up dead in about 2 hours after a single wildfire in the wilds of Montana? Yep, it's a whiteboard video. So on August 5th, 1949, a fire started in an area known as Mann Gulch. It's a very steep valley on either side with a narrow creek running down the middle of it. A lightning strike struck on the south face of the ridge. So you have a ridge here. It was on the south side of the gulch, north-facing slope. This is north. Here's our little creek. Our fire started in this area in very dry brush and temperatures that were about 97 degrees. Now, originally 16 smoke jumpers got on a plane and were going to parachute into Mann Gulch and attempt to fight this fire. One of the smoke jumpers didn't parachute because he was sick on the plane, and then when he got back to the runway, he quit as soon as he stepped off the plane. But either way, 15 smoke jumpers jumped out of the plane and landed right about here. Well, most of them landed right about there where that purple circle is. They got spread out significantly because it was really windy and really turbulent, so they ended up scattered all over this area, and their radio didn't work because its parachute didn't open and smashed against the ground. So they were led by a man by the name of Wag Dodd, which is an immaculate wildland firefighter name, top 10 all time. Anyway, he lands, and you can hear shouting from this general direction. So Wag, who we're going to put in green as the leader, Wag says, okay, get my team together, collect all of your supplies that scatter all over the place, get it back together, have a meal, and then once you're done, head along the north side of the bridge, the north side of the north slope, and get on this side of the fire. So go along this direction, get on this side of the fire so you can fight it this direction and push it into some drier fuel so that it doesn't have as much fuel to burn. They said, okay, cool. Then he said, I'm going to go find this random person that I hear shouting in the middle of the wilderness in Montana, because that's unusual. So he took off on his own, went across the creek, went over this direction, and found a local forest ranger who had spotted the fire and called it in, and then had spent the last 4 hours by himself fighting it. He was exhausted, but Wag collected him, and then they headed back this direction. The two of them got together here, had lunch, and then decided to go along to meet his team, who were somewhere in this area. Now, unfortunately, they landed at about 4:10 p.m. And from that time at 4:10 p.m. until about 5:30-ish, the fire had slowly started to spot onto the other side of this creek and began burning in little pockets on the north slope. The problem was there were a bunch of ridges along this north slope that the smoke jumpers could not see the fire. They could see this main fire right here, but they couldn't see these spot fires here. And wind was blowing this direction, up towards where the smoke jumpers were. So as they are walking this direction, coming along here, he meets up with his team, and then they continue walking this direction. They get within a couple hundred yards of the actual fire itself when Wag realizes, oh no, it's not over here, it's burning all in this area as well. He realizes we are in a bad spot. So he tells his team to turn around, and they're going to head back this direction. And they're going to make a mad dash for the ridge, because if they can make it to the ridge and over the top, they might be safe, because generally most fires don't burn really, really quickly downhill. So they make a U-turn, start heading up this direction. This fire at this point is now rapidly advancing on them as a giant flame front, basically. It is catching them faster than they can move. So Wag orders his team to say, hey, drop all of your heavy equipment, we need to move faster. Most of them comply, some of them do not. It doesn't really matter why. They continue on. At some point, Wag realizes we're not going to make it. We are absolutely not going to make it to the top of this ridge. This fire is going to catch us. So he pulls his team together partway down the ridge in this general area and attempts to say, hey, I'm going to do this thing. No one can hear him. So he takes a match out of his pocket from an idea he talked to some people about a few years prior, takes a match out of his pocket, and lights a fire right here that burns kind of in this direction. And as he's burning this area, his team is looking at him like he's just lost his mind. He tries to pull them all together and say, hey, if we get into this area right here where it's burned, the fire will just wash over us because there's nothing in this area to burn. we won't burn because it's really difficult to burn human beings. But if we get enough of this area burned, we can make ourselves our own little black. Instead, no one could hear him because at this point the fire was about 100 feet away. The wind was blowing so hard, the flames were so loud, no one could hear what he was saying. So 3 people, thinking that they knew what he was trying to say, thought that he was setting this fire to give them some space over here to get up over the ridge. So they went around this direction and went this way. 2 of them, it was 3 in total, 2 of them found a little crevice in this ridge and shoved themselves inside it and pushed through and made it to safety over here. 1 of them did not do that and ended up being caught by the fire up on top of the ridge and had severe burns and would die in the hospital the next day. The rest of them, including 1 man who was probably heard what he was saying, said, "To hell with this, I'm getting out of here," and then continued attempting to run up to the top of the ridge. Unfortunately, they would not make it. Our buddy Wag here, Wag Dodge, would jump over the fire, lay down in the middle of his burned area, and soak his handkerchief he had in his hand, cover his face, lay face down in the grass, and hold himself there as the waves of the fire washed over him. It didn't burn him at all. He was completely fine. The other 9 smoke jumpers and the forest ranger, 1 of them would make it almost over to here where he would be found. Several of them were found in this general area. A couple of them were found over here where they would be washed over by the flames and burned at 5:56 p.m. exactly, because 1 of the smoke jumpers had a pocket watch on him that the hands melted and stopped at exactly 5:56 p.m. Now, after the fire, many people tried to blame Wag for his escape fire causing the deaths of the other firefighters, but they determined that his fire had nothing to do with their deaths. They died from the main fire. The other 2 smoke jumpers that survived would end up going on to make 4 more smoke jumps that month. So it was the 40s, and it was crazy.